healthy during quarantine. My name is Marta Blanco, and I'm joined by my colleague Malik Baba and my co-host Linda Alterberger. We're all nutritionists from Cornell Corporate Extension, and we thank you once again for being with us today. As you know, we are going through very difficult times, which have forced some of us to work from home, change our work schedule, our environment. Well, we try to keep our family occupied, organized, and healthy. Being at home for long periods of time may also provide certain advantages, and one of the easiest ways to keep the whole family engaged is to cook together. So each member of the family, including young children, would enjoy being in the kitchen and participating in the cooking or preparation processes. And this will all depend, obviously, in the age group in which your children or youth are. So today we will discuss several things. We will talk about how to be safe at the store and when we get back home while we do our shopping. We will see a video that summarizes the best practices to do that. We will also review key components of a healthy pantry, a refrigerator and freezer, and therefore we can do this to limit the times and the visits that we do at the store. We will also share quick healthy recipes and tips on how to make meals a lot easier and healthier for your family. So please feel free to share in the chat box or unmute yourself your email so that we can also at the end of the presentation send you some of the bilingual recipes that we have and other resources as we continue our presentation. So as I said before, we're all adjusting in many different ways to our new normal, right? And I would like you to share in the chat box or unmuting yourself, what are some positive nutrition habits that you've been able to maintain during COVID-19? I know that has been a challenge for all of us, but I'm sure there are some things that we have been able to maintain or are trying to keep in an effort to. So if you can share in the chat box with us, and Linda will be letting me know.
Home cooked meals.
Home cooked meals, excellent. We're trying to do a lot of that, right? We'll be forcefully doing that.
More home cooked meals, yes.
Okay.
And washing hands more.
Okay, great. As you're sharing, continue to share. I'm just going to also add some of the ones that we have commonly received.
And we have a couple more answers more to just quickly eating more fruits and veggies and staying on a regular sleep routine, as well as shopping at some local farmers markets and farm stands.
Wonderful. All great. The sleep one is very important, right? And we don't think about that one being nutrition related, but it is. So along with all those great ideas and habits that you've been maintaining, we also have conscientious about food budgeting, right? We have to be also mindful that in these difficult times, we have to be aware of our food budget in order to create wonderful meals and prepare them at home is one way of saving money. We're also trying to use a lot of the cooking time exploring new recipes, right? And today we're going to, towards the end of the presentation, give you some tips on how to do that accordingly with the dietary guidelines. So first of all, let's review a little bit about what we should do before going to the store. So the first thing we have to do is we have to check the food inventory that we have in our home and also the storage space. It is very important that we're mindful about this because now it is recommended that we also do less shopping trips at the store in order to stay safe and maintain other safety as well. So in order to do that, we have to make sure that we're just writing the right amount of foods that we need for our family for that week or two period. It's recommended, the new guidelines say if you can limit the store visits, maybe if you're used to shopping several times a week, do it only once, or if you did it every week, maybe space it out to every 2 weeks. So that way we're limiting exposure and we're keeping all those essential workers safe and well. So one thing is we need to create a non-digital shopping list. And for example, for me, that was a challenge because I'm used to having my shopping list on the phone or my kids will text me what they need. So we have to, the recommendations are now to stay and go to the traditional paper list so that we limit that contact phone face usage while we shop. Also another recommendation with the list is shop with your eyes first, right? So just let's try to limit the items that we touch before we buy them. Another consideration before going to the store is explore those shopping options. Many stores are doing deliveries, home deliveries, or maybe they have times where there's less crowds, or there is stores that have senior designated times that are also useful. So please be aware of your local store, what they offer besides ongoing sales. And the last tip before we go and see our video is go alone or try to go by yourself to protect not only yourself and your family, but others, as I said, protect those essential workers that are keeping our stores well stocked. Any questions so far?
Nope, we're doing good.
Okay. So moving along, we're going to see a food safety video during quarantine, and this is a video that will also be available as one of the resources at the end of the presentation. Is from the FDA, and it summarizes 12 tips that I believe are very important and crucial, and you can also share it with your families and friends. So let's listen.
COVID-19 has changed a lot of things, but you and your family still have to eat. Going to the grocery store? Here are some tips. First, check the status of the store. Is it open for shoppers, for pickup, or for home delivery only? Also, stores might have special shopping hours for seniors and those with health challenges. If you go, make a shopping list in advance.
Let's see. I think it paused, Marta.
So you don't wear a mask while you're in the store. Observe the 6 feet rule. Take your own wipes or use the ones supplied by the store to wipe down the handles of the shopping cart or basket. Using reusable shopping bags? Make sure reusable shopping bags are cleaned or washed regularly. Home from the store? Wash those hands right away and after you put away your groceries. There's no evidence of food or food packaging spreading COVID-19. However, if you wish, you can wipe down your groceries and let them air dry as an extra precaution. And always follow these tips for storing and preparing food at home. Clean, separate, cook, and chill. Rinse fresh fruits and vegetables under running tap water. Refrigerate and freeze things that can go bad within 2 hours of buying. And a good idea to check these temps. Wipe down kitchen counters and other high-touch surfaces often, including after you put your groceries away. Please stay safe.
Okay, I'm sorry, you had a little glitch. Were you able to see it well? Okay.
I think we
perfect.
just missed a second or two.
Okay, yes, and some of the tips I had previously gone over them, but so with this video provided, as I said, 12 tips to safely shop and handle groceries. So please share in the chat box which tip has been the most difficult for you to put in practice, whether it's during the trip at the shop, at the supermarket, or once you get back home. So if you can please share with us, that would be great, or you can unmute yourself as well.
Someone said standing in line, keeping social distancing with that 6 feet. Some are finding that they still have to go out once a week.
Yeah, especially I hear that a lot from families that have children, or maybe there's more than one family in a household. So that's always a challenge, you know, keeping that fridge available and, you know, with storage space. So yes, that's a real challenge. And the social distance is a must. And it's difficult. And sometimes people forget. You see a family member or acquaintance come in the store and you kind of forget, right? That you have to keep that social distance when you're saying hi to them. Anything else?
A couple more comment about, you know, those not following the, you know, distance when you're in the supermarket. Someone else said they're eating a lot more, so they're having to go out perhaps.
Yes, what we call the quarantine 15 as nutritionists, right? Yes, yes. So we'll give you some tips at the end on how to select those foods that might prevent you from doing that. And even if you eat a little bit more, that you do it in a healthier way. Excellent.
Things also being out of stock too, trying to find what you need. So.
Yes, yes, yeah, that's always a challenge. And usually before you would call the store and say, hey, did your flour came in, right? Do you have this? But sometimes now there's some of the stores, I find that they're not even answering the phone. I guess a lot of people are looking into that. So that's always a challenge, yes. So we always have to have a plan B, right? If we're going to bake with some type of flour, maybe we'll experiment baking with a different type of flour that it is available. So always remember to, if you do, although it's not mandated to wear gloves, but if you do, just make sure you dispose them properly in a trash can before you get into the car, and always remember to wash your hands. We can't stress that enough. Okay, so moving along. So prior to COVID-19 and hopefully after COVID-19 as well, food safety measures continue to be a priority. And with that in mind, in the video at the end, there were some food safety measures that already are in place to prevent foodborne illnesses. So I'm kind of going to quiz you all. If you can please share in the chat box what those 4 steps were.
Don't be shy.
I guess nobody was expecting this.
Wash, cook, and chill. Yay,
Oh,
Pat.
yes. Very good. Very good. So here they are. The food safety measures, they continue to be a priority, as I said. And, you know, even following them is going to prevent us to stay safe, even during this COVID-19 times. Like, you know, we've never washed our hands, and somebody was sharing like the challenges of doing that. So I think that's something that we're all relearning how to do, right? Sometimes we just go through it very quickly. So thank you so much for sharing. I just want to add that temperature control helps keep pathogens in check if done correctly, but often we have concerns about how to safely clean fresh produce before consumption. So with that in mind, which are 2 steps to keep your fresh produce safe? So I'll give you a tip. Is one of those 4 steps that we just reviewed are going to be crucial on keeping your fresh produce safe. And the key word here is fresh. So if you want to share that with us, and I promise you this is going to be my last quiz.
So I'm not sure if I'm going to read it correctly, but Pat, you could always like re-clarify for me. It says, if I'm not soaping, do I have to be under running water?
Okay, so probably she says soap, using soap. Okay, so we'll review that. So the first step is to wash your produce under cold running water before eating. And research has always suggested that the only thing that you need to wash your fresh produce, fruits and vegetables, is just cold running water. That's just plain and simple. There's soap only belongs in your hands or your body, and nowhere near the food or anything else. So there is enough research that this is enough, and in this pandemic times, it has proven that it is enough as far as we know as of today, because we know everything changes. And just to keep a little bit, in addition to that, besides cold running water, you also have to make sure that you can use an additional step, which is using a vegetable brush that you see here in those hard surfaces for like potatoes or carrots or maybe a melon or a cantaloupe. And also make sure that you keep the fruits and vegetables in a colander, in a container when you're going to rinse them, and not directly in the sink, to prevent cross-contamination or any other contamination that may be there already. Never use your sponge, of course, because that's only for the dishes. The other safety tip that we saw is separating, right? Maintain the store fresh produce separately. This includes while we're at the supermarket. I always recommend extra bagging those raw meats when you put them in the cart, or if you have a little cooler bag yourself, make sure you put them in there. And then also separating while you prepare. So before we move on to Malik, if anybody
there is a question.
Questions, yes, go ahead.
So there is a question regarding that they do make like produce cleaners and sanitizers that you can use.
For the fruits and vegetables?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, evidence, as far as we know, the research shows that cold running water is the safest and the only thing that's appropriate in order to clean the fresh fruits and vegetables. So I don't have anything that would show me that you need anything else. At the end of the presentation, we are going to be sharing some resources from the Institute for Food Safety from Cornell University that touch a little bit more in depth about what we have talked about today. And they also are in agreement that just cold running water under the faucet, you can use your hands to rub those fruits and veggies or use a very brush, but that's all that you need. So Malik?
Yes, hi, thank you, Martha. That was great information. Okay, so let's think about the food aspect of this. When we're at the supermarket, what foods should we buy? Thinking about the situation we're in right now, what are some of the food items that you might be buying at this point? You can put your answers in the chat box.
So some people saying frozen, canned, pasta.
Very good. So
Box,
most of us,
canned food,
yes, I'm
frozen
sorry.
veggies. Yep, sorry.
It's okay.
Yep, canned frozen blueberries, oranges,
Very nice.
eggs, and other
Okay.
proteins. Thank you.
So thank you very much. Most of us are used to go food shopping weekly or sometimes even more often or whenever we think we need a certain food item. But that's not the case anymore because of the COVID-19 situation. We need to limit our store visits. So now we need to do even more planning than before leaving the house. What we buy usually depends on our family size, special needs, food allergies, any special diets, intolerances, preferences, habits, our budget, our storage space. So it's different for each person or each family. It's recommended that we buy food for 2 weeks to limit our store trips. But if that's not possible, try to go at as little as possible. Just minimize your outings as much as you can. And think about buying shelf-stable food items and foods that we can buy in bulk. So can you think of, let's see. And that brings us to the nutrient-dense foods and beverages, and basically this poster, My Plate. You know what? If you're familiar with My Plate poster, you know that there are 5 food groups that we need to be eating from. So as long as we keep our foods in this My Plate poster, if we're buying enough fruits and vegetables and eating them the right way, preparing them the right way, the correct way, if we're buying whole grains, if we're buying lean protein and low-fat dairy, we are okay. So nutrient-dense foods and beverages would usually have more fiber, more vitamins and minerals, low sodium and sugar, and low fat. So when we plan our list for the supermarket trip, it's important that we follow the dietary guidelines and My Plate recommendations so we can get all the nutrients from the foods and we also satisfy our eating habits. Now, talking about nutrient-dense foods, can you give us some examples of the nutrient-dense foods that you can think of? Again, using the chat box. Any nutrient-dense foods that you can think of?
Potatoes, eggs.
Okay.
Someone said sweet potatoes, broccoli, avocado, oatmeal, kale, nuts, brown rice.
Thank you. I hear a lot of fruits and vegetables. Fruits and vegetables are nutrient-dense foods as long as they don't have any extra fat or salt or sugar. So let's prepare a list for ourselves. Mix and match, shelf-stable items. What are some of the shelf-stable items that you can think of?
We wrote in the brown rice and the beans.
Brown rice and beans, yes.
Pasta.
Pasta, that's correct.
Someone else said peanut butter.
Those are all shelf-stable items.
Canned milk.
Canned milk, okay. Or also dry milk. Dry milk is very useful. Even for those people who don't like the flavor of it, you can use it in soups or baked goods, and then just leave the fresh milk for your drinking. Dry or canned legumes, whole grains like rice or pasta or quinoa, canned fish, canned chicken, low sodium vegetables, unsalted seeds and nuts and dried fruits. These are all shelf-stable food items. That can also be, I mean, most of them, like unsalted seeds and nuts and dried fruits, can be frozen also. Just keep in mind that a lot of the foods that we eat can be frozen, even milk. Does anybody ever Freeze milk? Yes? No?
We got a yes. We got 2
Yes,
yeses.
that's good.
3.
Yes, you can freeze dairy products, including milk and yogurt and cheese. Freezer foods are, it's a great option, and they are freezer shelf stable. If you buy plain fruits and vegetables without any salt or sauces or sugar, they would last you forever. Aseptic packaged foods such as milk or broth or soups, those are also good options. Herbs and spices, I love herbs and spices because they last forever. They usually last from 1 year to 1 to 4 years, depending on the variety and the way that you store them. Always seal them well and keep them in a cool, dark place. You can also try growing an herb garden. It's easier than growing vegetables or fruits, of course. You can do it indoors too. So fresh herbs add so much flavor to your dishes that you may not even not need to use salt anymore. Now we're gonna watch a little video of a delicious beans and rice quick recipe prepared with shelf-stable items.
Hi, I'm Chef Amy, and today I'm making red beans and rice, a quintessential Louisiana dish that's healthy, inexpensive, and delicious. Spray a skillet with some cooking spray. Add chopped onion and green pepper and saute over medium heat for about 5 minutes. Next, let's add garlic powder, 2 cans of diced tomatoes, and a can of kidney beans. Reduce the heat to low and simmer for about 5 minutes. Once it's ready, scoop it out over a bowl of cooked brown rice. Pair with a side salad or a steamed vegetable, and you've got a complete meal in under 15 minutes. Call the family to the table. Everyone will be ready to let the good times roll after enjoying this delicious dish. For this recipe and more, visit USDA's What's Cooking website. Enjoy.
Okay, that was a great video with a very easy recipe. Now, what kind of shelf-stable items were used in that red bean and rice recipe?
The beans, the rice.
The beans and the rice.
Canned tomato.
One more.
Canned tomato.
Yeah. So brown rice is a whole grain that's easily available and a better option than white rice. Canned beans are nutrition-packed, versatile, and ready to use. There's lots of different choices like kidney beans, red beans, pink beans, black beans, chickpeas. Canned tomatoes, a must ingredient for sauces, chilies, stew, or soups.
Someone else also mentioned the garlic powder.
Garlic powder, yes, that's a spice that would last for at least a year in your cabinet if it's covered in an airtight container. Okay, let's talk about some of the healthy recipe and kitchen tips. Think ahead and plan your meals and snacks. Just about everything else in life, everything works better when you have a good organized plan. So trying to put together a meal when you or your family members are hungry and rushed may cause you to make unhealthy meal choices. Use eat first fridge items like leftovers before everything else to reduce food waste. Keep your scraps container in a freezer for stock. That's something that would come in handy when you need to make a soup. Cook your grains, soak dry beans, and freeze ahead of time. This way they'll be ready when you're ready to cook. Saute or steam greens before going bad, or when they're really fresh, make some salads. Put them in the fridge in a bowl somewhere that everyone can see. Involve the family. Research shows that when the children and teens are involved in family meal planning and preparation, they're more likely to try and consume the foods that they prepared. So get them out of their rooms, have them help with cooking and prepping process, have them chop some veggies or make some cookie dough for later use. They can cook brown rice or quinoa ahead of time, keep them in the fridge, or even freeze them for later use. Freeze your fresh chopped fruit or blanched vegetables. Think about finger foods for all ages. Just clean, cut, and eat. Serve it all the time. Leave it on the dining room table even. Store your foods in clear containers so you can see what you need to use instead of throwing them away. If you see it, you use it.
So Malik, I have a question that was
Yes.
posted. Someone, one of the participants were asking about couscous, and is that better than pasta?
Well, if it's couscous is made with wheat flour. So if it's a whole grain couscous, it would be a better option. But if it's regular couscous, it's just as nutritious as regular pasta. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think so. And then someone else had commented, what a great idea. Don't forget, like things like stewed tomatoes are even found like with no added salt. So some of our canned products are also a better choice because they're no added salt.
Yes. No added salt, no added sugar would be the way to go. All right, so this is an example list of shelf-stable nutrient-rich ingredients that you would, use to make healthy recipes, such as canned low-sodium beans, low-fat cheese, or frozen plain vegetables. We will put the link for this list in the chat box for anyone who's interested. And we're gonna email all the resources and more recipes if you provide us with your email addresses. And this slide has 10 healthy recipe ideas using the items from the previous list. So all the items are nutrient dense and shelf stable. You can mix and match the ingredients. This may be a difficult time to come up with new ideas, but even adding a little different type of fresh herbs can spice up your usual meals. If you already have an herb garden, that's great, use them. If not, start slow, maybe one small pot at a time. It's a rewarding and delicious hobby. Okay, please use the chat box for any questions and comments. Thank you for joining us today. We know the healthy choice isn't always the easiest choice, but small changes can make a big difference. Thank you.
We'll just see if anyone has any questions, please.
Go ahead.
Into the chat box. And I've also listed 2 of our resources. One was the recipe and the video tips, so you could access in the future. And also, if you want to post your email in the chat box, we can send you additional information and resources.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Like I said, enjoy your walk in this afternoon or exercise. Stay safe and keep your 6 feet distance. And remember to wash your hands as much as you can.